Alien laughed at weak human pilot lives to regret it. The galaxy had many stars, and among them human pilots were often called weak. Most aliens believed humans were fragile, slow, and barely able to fly a ship without crashing. Riley Kane, a young human pilot, had heard these things all his life. He knew the whispers, the mocking laughs, and the distant looks of disbelief when other species saw humans trying to fly the same advanced ships they mastered easily. Yet here he was, sitting in the cockpit of his small cargo ship, the Starling, staring at a galaxy that was more dangerous than most humans would ever face. The Starling was not a battleship. It was a supply craft, built for carrying cargo and making long jumps between colonies, not for fighting. Its engines were modest, its shields thin, and its weapons, well, they were mostly symbolic. But Riley had something that most of the other species lacked: determination, intuition, and a mind that could see possibilities where machines and protocols failed. Riley adjusted the controls as he approached the asteroid belt surrounding the Zorathian colony. His mission was simple on paper: deliver essential supplies to a colony on the edge of human space. But space was rarely simple. Reports from the previous days warned of alien patrols, small squadrons that chased down anyone they considered weak. Humans were their favorite target, mocked and humiliated as they tried to survive. Riley knew that if he was spotted, they would laugh first and fire later. As he guided the Starling past the first belt of floating rocks, a sharp beep sounded on his console. He leaned forward and squinted at the holographic display. Multiple blips had appeared, fast-moving, closing in. Riley's heart pounded, but he forced himself to breathe slowly. He had trained for this. Humans might be smaller, slower, weaker in ships, but they were clever. "Ah, a human pilot," came a distorted voice over the comms. It was the lead of the alien squadron, its tone mocking, almost musical. "Do you even know how to fly that tiny thing, little weakling?" Riley's fingers tightened on the controls. He did not respond. He knew better. In the galaxy, silence could be more dangerous than words, but sometimes it was also more powerful. The aliens laughed again, a sound that seemed to shake the empty void of space around him. The first alien ship emerged from behind a cluster of asteroids. Its hull shimmered in colors that human eyes found hard to focus on. It was faster, stronger, armed with weapons that could tear through a human ship in seconds. Riley's mind raced. He needed a plan, and he needed it fast. He veered the Starling toward a larger asteroid, hoping to hide. The alien pilot laughed again. "Pathetic," it hissed. "Even hiding, human, you will fail." Riley pressed a series of buttons, adjusting the ship's thrusters in ways that were unconventional. The Starling was not meant to make sharp, sudden moves, but humans could adapt. Using the asteroid as cover, he darted in a zigzag pattern. One of the alien ships followed, thinking it would be an easy target. A sudden jolt shook Riley's ship as a laser missed by inches, hitting the asteroid instead. Pieces of rock floated in the vacuum, spinning slowly. Riley saw an opportunity. Using the floating debris, he navigated through in a way no alien pilot could predict. They relied on speed, on patterns, on calculations. Humans, however, could improvise. Riley let the alien chase him into a narrow passage of rocks, then suddenly reversed the thrusters and used the gravitation pull of a small moon to sling himself around. The alien ship, too large and fast to adjust, collided with a rock and was forced to retreat. Riley exhaled slowly, feeling the tension leave him just a little, but he knew this was only the beginning. He had avoided one attack, but the others were still out there, laughing, hunting. His comms crackled, and the alien leader spoke again, this time more impatient. "Human, you amuse us. Do you really think you can survive this?" Riley's hands moved instinctively. He did not answer. Instead, he adjusted his shields, checked the cargo hold, and ran the ship systems. Every beep and flicker mattered. Humans had an advantage aliens did not expect. They could make mistakes, but they could also recover from them in ways machines could not. The chase continued through the asteroid field. Riley used every trick he knew. He drifted behind large rocks, letting the alien scanners overshoot his position. He fired small, harmless flares from the Starling, not to attack, but to confuse their sensors. The aliens, relying on perfect calculations, struggled to keep up. Riley felt a surge of confidence. He was just a human, weak in size and speed, but smart. And smart could beat strong when strength was arrogant. Hours passed, though Riley did not track time. Space had no sun to mark the hours, only stars and distant planets. The alien squadron began to grow frustrated. Riley noticed it in their movements. They became reckless, aggressive, overconfident. He could use that. He planned to lead them somewhere they did not expect, somewhere the starling could turn its weakness into strength. Ahead, he saw a small mining station abandoned decades ago. Its metal hull was rusted, its systems dead, but it floated in the middle of a quiet nebula. Riley's mind raced. He could use the station to hide or maybe even set a trap. He veered toward it cautiously, knowing the aliens might follow blindly. As he approached, the alien leader's voice came again, this time sharp, almost angry. "Come out, human." "You cannot hide from us forever." Riley's eyes scanned the station. There were openings in its structure, narrow corridors and old machinery, not much but enough. He made his move. With a sudden burst of speed, he darted into the station, weaving between support beams and large cargo containers left behind years ago. The aliens were not expecting it. They hesitated at the entrance, unsure of the narrow space. "Ha!" Riley muttered under his breath. Not so fast now. He activated a few old energy conduits on the station, sending sparks and small shocks across the corridors. It was not dangerous, but it created confusion. The alien ships hovered outside, trying to figure out the sudden interference. Riley smiled. They thought they had power, strength, and technology. He had something else, unpredictability. As he navigated the station, he imagined what the aliens were thinking. They probably saw humans as fragile, incapable of real strategy. They laughed at him when they first saw the starling, assuming it would crumble under any challenge. They would regret it soon, but Riley knew better than to underestimate them. These aliens were fast, experienced, and deadly. One mistake and the starling would be nothing more than space debris. He moved carefully, using every sensor, every intuition he had learned from years of training. Humans might be small, but they could think, adapt, and survive in ways no alien protocol could match. After a tense hour, Riley found a central chamber inside the station. From there, he could see the approaches to the nebula, a narrow passage between gas clouds that distorted sensors. He had an idea. If he could lure the aliens into the nebula, they would have difficulty tracking him, and he could escape using the currents of ionized gas. It was risky, but humans were risk-takers by nature. Sometimes, the only way to survive was to do what others thought impossible. He sent a small drone out, appearing to scout the area. The aliens saw it and assumed it was a trap, but they were overconfident. One by one, they followed, laughing and taunting him. Riley activated the station's small engines, sending it slowly drifting toward the nebula. The aliens followed blindly. Inside the nebula, the starling moved like a shadow. Riley's instincts guided him through narrow gas tunnels, past ion storms, and between dangerous magnetic pockets. The aliens struggled to follow, their speed and sensors useless in such unpredictable conditions. Riley could almost hear them screaming, frustrated, and amazed at the humans' audacity. By the time the nebula ended, the alien ships had taken damage from miscalculations, collisions with invisible magnetic currents, and their own arrogance. Riley emerged from the gas clouds, his ship scratched but intact. He exhaled a long, slow breath, feeling both relief and exhilaration. For the first time, the galaxy had seen a human pilot not as weak, not as fragile, but as clever, daring, and dangerously unpredictable. Riley smiled behind his visor. He had survived the mockery, outsmarted superior foes, and lived to continue his mission. The journey was far from over, but one thing was clear. Humans were not to be laughed at. As he set the course for the Zorathian colony, Riley allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of challenges and dangers, but also opportunities. He was a human, and humans thrived where others failed. Riley Kane had survived the first attack, but he knew this was far from over. The alien squadron had been clever, powerful, and arrogant, and their laughter still echoed in his mind. They had underestimated him once, and that mistake had cost them, but now they would regroup. And Riley had no illusions, they would be even more dangerous. He adjusted the starling's course toward the outer edge of the Zorathian colony. The colony was small, a cluster of metal structures and domed habitats clinging to a rocky asteroid. The supplies he carried were desperately needed. Food, water purifiers, medical kits, everything the colonists depended on. And though he could have turned back to safety, Riley was human. Humans were stubborn. Humans were brave. He had a mission and he would complete it no matter the odds. As he neared the colony, the sensors beeped again. Another squadron of alien ships appeared on the scanner, moving faster than before. Riley's stomach tightened. These were elite hunters, the kind that considered humans playthings. They would not stop until they destroyed him, or at least humiliated him again. "All right, Kane," he muttered to himself. "Time to show them humans are more than their fears think." He scanned the asteroid belt surrounding the colony. Narrow paths, hidden craters, and uneven surfaces offered possibilities. Riley had learned from the previous attack. Aliens relied on speed, precision, and predictability. Humans had a different edge, creativity and unpredictability. He could turn the weaknesses of his ship into advantages. The alien ships appeared over the horizon, their sleek forms glinting in the dim light of distant stars. The lead ship opened a comm channel. Its voice was harsh, mocking, full of contempt. "Back again, little human. You survived the last time, but this is your end. Prepare to be crushed." Riley did not answer. Words could be weapons, but silence could also sharpen the mind. He maneuvered the starling deeper into the asteroid belt, letting the massive rocks act as shields. One alien ship lunged forward, firing lasers that scorched nearby rocks. Riley twisted the controls sharply, sending the ship through a tight passage no larger than the starling itself. The alien ship followed, but clipped a boulder, forcing it to veer off course. Riley's eyes flicked to the scanners, watching the other alien ships react. They were cautious now, hesitant. Their arrogance had met a challenge they did not expect. Riley grinned behind his visor. This was the moment when humans could strike, not with raw power, but with cunning. He guided the ship toward a cluster of small, spinning asteroids. Most alien pilots avoided this area because their ships were large and collisions were almost certain. Riley, however, had learned to dance between danger. He threaded the starling through the spinning rocks, using every twist and turn to hide from sensors and line of fire. The aliens tried to follow, but their larger ships could not match his precision. Suddenly, one alien ship broke formation. It dove toward him, weapons blazing. Riley jerked the controls to the left, barely avoiding the first blast. Sparks flew from the hull and a piece of his cargo container rattled loose. But Riley did not panic. Panic was for the weak. Humans could adapt. He led the alien ship on a chase through the spinning asteroids, then suddenly dove into a narrow canyon formed by two massive rocks. The alien tried to follow but misjudged the angle, scraping against the canyon wall. Metal groaned. The ship spun out of control, giving Riley a chance to escape. "Not bad for a weak human," Riley muttered with a smirk. He knew the alien commander would be furious. The arrogance of their species made them underestimate humans at every turn. But humans could learn, adapt, and strike in ways aliens did not expect. That was their strength. Riley spotted an old mining station near the canyon's end, abandoned decades ago. Its structure was jagged, full of sharp metal and old equipment. He had an idea. If he could lure the aliens there, he could use the environment to his advantage. The station's broken machinery and narrow corridors could neutralize their speed and power. He sent a small drone ahead, pretending to scout the area. The aliens saw it and assumed he was trapped. Their laughter echoed in the comms again, sharp and cruel. "Come out, human! You cannot hide from us forever!" Riley activated the station's old defense systems, mostly malfunctioning lasers and energy conduits that had not worked in years. Sparks flew, creating confusion and small explosions. The aliens, relying on precision and calculations, struggled. Their sensors could not adjust to the chaos. Riley navigated through the station with ease, using his small size and quick reflexes to dodge hazards. He darted through narrow corridors, past broken machinery, and into areas the aliens could not follow. They hovered outside, trying to anticipate his moves, but humans could improvise. That was the difference. He reached the central chamber, a wide open space with high ceilings and scattered debris. From here, he could see the entrances and exits. The aliens were still outside, waiting, confident in their strength. Riley smiled. Confidence could be broken with the right strategy. He took a deep breath and calculated his next move. Humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, planners, and risk-takers. He activated the station's old engines, slowly moving it toward the center of the canyon. The aliens, thinking he was trapped, followed aggressively. Riley had predicted their movements perfectly. As they entered the canyon, he triggered a series of controlled blasts from the station's old machinery. Rocks fell, sparks flew, and the narrow path became a dangerous maze. The aliens were forced to dodge and swerve, their precision failing them. Riley guided the Starling with unmatched agility, avoiding every obstacle. One by one, the alien ships took damage. Collisions, miscalculations, and their own overconfidence caused their numbers to dwindle. Riley watched carefully, not celebrating, knowing that one mistake could still destroy him. But the pattern was clear. Humans could survive against the odds, and aliens were learning this lesson the hard way. Finally, only the lead alien ship remained, sleek, fast, and dangerous. Its pilot was furious, the voice over the comms sharp and cutting. "You are clever, human, but cleverness will not save you." Riley tightened his grip on the controls. He had anticipated this moment. Humans could think in ways aliens could not, see possibilities beyond logic. He led the ship through a final stretch of the canyon, where the walls converged into a narrow tunnel. The alien ship followed, too confident in its speed. At the last moment, Riley activated a hidden energy conduit in the tunnel, creating a small magnetic field. The alien ship's sensors went haywire. It collided with the tunnel wall, scraping violently. Sparks flew and alarms blared. Riley seized the moment, boosting the Starling forward, leaving the alien behind. Breathing heavily, Riley exited the canyon, the stars stretching ahead. He had survived once again by relying not on brute strength but on intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Humans were underestimated, but that made them dangerous. As he approached the colony, he could see the small lights of the habitat structures. The colonists were counting on him, and he would not fail them. The alien squadron had been relentless, mocking, and powerful, but they had learned something important. Humans were not weak. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and brave. Riley guided the Starling toward a landing pad, careful but confident. The colonists would cheer, and maybe, just maybe, the aliens would hear about it. The story of the weak human who survived against impossible odds would spread across the galaxy. But Riley knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, and many would underestimate humans as the aliens had. Yet humans had something unique: creativity, courage, and a refusal to give up. That was more powerful than any laser, faster than any engine, and stronger than any shield. As the Starling touched down safely, Riley allowed himself a moment of rest. He had completed the first part of his mission, survived the chase, and outsmarted beings far stronger than himself. But the universe had many more challenges ahead, and Riley Kane was ready. Humans survived, humans thrived, and humans never gave up. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the lead alien commander swore vengeance. It had laughed at Riley Kane, at the weak human, and that mistake would not be forgotten. But Riley had a simple truth on his side. A human's mind could turn weakness into strength, fear into courage, and survival into triumph. Riley Kane did not have much time to rest. The Zorathian colony was quiet now, its lights blinking softly in the dark of space, but Riley knew that peace was temporary. The alien squadron he had outsmarted earlier would regroup. They would not forget the embarrassment of their failures. He had survived their first attacks, but the next encounter could be far more dangerous. Humans were clever, but the galaxy was full of predators that underestimated them at their peril. Riley stood in the cockpit of the Starling, his hands hovering over the controls. He studied the colony's data feed, checking the inventory of supplies he had delivered. Food rations, water purifiers, medical kits, all essential for survival in this harsh corner of space. The colonists relied on him, and he could not fail them. But more than that, he could not fail himself. Humans might be considered weak, but Riley knew better. Weakness was often in the mind, not the body, and humans had the ability to think, adapt, and survive in ways no alien could predict. A sudden beep from the ship's sensors broke his concentration. Multiple blips appeared on the scanner, moving fast and in formation. Riley's heart skipped a beat. It was the alien squadron. They were back, larger this time, stronger, and more organized. Their ships were glinting in the distant starlight like predatory sharks circling a lone swimmer. The lead alien's voice came over the comms, distorted and sharp. "Human, you escaped before, but your luck has run out. Prepare to die." Riley did not answer. Words could be empty. Actions mattered more. He activated the Starling's engines and lifted off from the landing pad, weaving smoothly through the colony's structures to avoid easy targeting. The aliens followed, their movements precise and confident, But Riley had an advantage they did not expect: the ability to think beyond logic, to improvise when machines could only calculate. He guided the Starling toward a narrow canyon that cut through the nearby asteroid field. The canyon was treacherous, filled with jagged rocks and narrow passages. Most alien pilots would avoid it, fearing damage to their sleek ships, but Riley saw opportunity. He could turn the environment into a weapon. As he entered the canyon, one alien ship lunged forward, firing its energy cannons. Riley twisted the controls sharply, narrowly avoiding the blast. Rocks exploded nearby, sending debris spinning into space. He ducked and weaved through the maze of stone, the Starling responding perfectly to every instinctive movement. The aliens struggled to follow. Their ships were larger, faster, and more heavily armed, but they were not human. They could not anticipate unpredictable movements, sudden changes, or the creative use of the environment. Riley used every inch of the canyon to his advantage, letting the narrow passages funnel the enemy into positions where their size and speed became disadvantages. One by one, he created small traps using the asteroid formations. He pushed rocks into the path of pursuing ships, forcing them to maneuver sharply and collide with smaller asteroids. Sparks and fragments flew, and the alien ships began to take damage. Riley felt a surge of satisfaction, not from cruelty, but from proving that humans could survive where others expected them to fail. He glanced at the cargo hold. Every crate represented lives depending on him. Humans were not only survivors, they were protectors, clever enough to use their minds when machines and brute force could not. The thought strengthened his resolve. He would not just escape, he would fight back. Riley's eyes scanned the canyon ahead. A narrow tunnel opened into a wider chamber where large boulders floated in low gravity. He had an idea. If he could lure the aliens into the chamber, their speed would work against them. He activated a small drone and sent it ahead, mimicking the movement of the Starling. The aliens took the bait, diving after it without hesitation. The moment they entered the chamber, Riley triggered a controlled series of small explosions. The boulders shifted, creating barriers and hazards that forced the alien ships to slow down and maneuver carefully. Riley's own ship darted through the gaps effortlessly, using human reflexes and intuition. The aliens were caught off guard. Their speed became a liability as they struggled to avoid collisions and maintain formation. Riley knew the lead alien ship was still behind him, observing, calculating. That was the most dangerous part. The leader was clever, experienced, and ruthless. Riley could not afford mistakes. He scanned the chamber for advantages, his mind racing. Humans could improvise tools and strategies from their surroundings, and he would do just that. He activated a series of old energy conduits left in the mining chamber. Sparks flew as electricity arced across the walls, creating flashes of light that disrupted the alien sensors. Riley used the moment to maneuver the Starling into a hidden nook behind a massive floating boulder. He watched as the lead ship entered the chamber, its sensors unable to track him accurately. "Clever human," the alien hissed through the comms. "But cleverness will not save you." Riley did not respond. Instead, he studied the alien's movements, predicting its trajectory based on instinct and experience. Humans had the ability to see possibilities in real time, adapting to new threats faster than any machine. That was why they survived. That was why they thrived. The lead alien ship veered sharply, trying to corner him. Riley timed his move perfectly, boosting the Starling through a narrow gap between two massive rocks. The alien miscalculated, clipping the side of a boulder. Sparks flew and alarms blared. Riley took the opportunity to escape the chamber entirely, using a low-gravity corridor to accelerate quickly. Outside, the alien squadron was in disarray. 2 ships had been disabled, one was damaged, and the rest were retreating. Riley's strategy had worked flawlessly. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, but that underestimation was their advantage. Where others relied on strength, humans relied on creativity, courage, and adaptability. Riley set a course for open space, using the remaining asteroids to shield him from sensors. He allowed himself a small smile. The alien leader would be furious. They had mocked him, laughed at his ship, called humans weak, and now they had learned the hard way that humans could survive and even fight back. But Riley knew the danger was not over. The lead alien ship would not give up so easily. They would plan, strategize, and strike again. Humans survived because they could adapt, but even adaptation had limits. He had to stay vigilant. He glanced at the cargo hold again. The supplies were safe, the colonists would have what they needed, and he had survived another encounter. Humans had a reputation for being fragile, weak, and expendable, but Riley Kane was proof that humans were more than that. They were clever, resourceful, and unstoppable when driven by courage and necessity. The comms crackled again, the alien leader's voice filled with anger. "You have escaped this time, human, but your luck will run out. The galaxy will see that humans are weak." Riley leaned back in the pilot's seat, a calm smile on his face. "Humans are not weak," he whispered. "We survive, we adapt, and we never give up." He knew the lead alien would not understand. They measured strength in speed, firepower, and size. Humans measured strength differently, in courage, in intelligence, and in the ability to see possibilities where others saw only danger. Riley had learned that lesson early in life, and now the galaxy would see it as well. Riley guided the Starling through the asteroid belt, careful but confident. Each movement was calculated yet intuitive, a balance of precision and creativity that humans excelled at. He could see the alien ships retreating in the distance, but he did not underestimate them. They would return, stronger, smarter, and angrier, but so would he. Humans thrived under pressure, and Riley Kane was no ordinary human. As he exited the asteroid field, he set a new course toward a nearby nebula. Its swirling gases would provide cover, confusing sensors and making pursuit difficult. Riley's mind worked quickly, anticipating the aliens' next moves and preparing countermeasures. Humans had the ability to improvise and think ahead, and he would use every advantage. The Starling moved like a shadow, invisible and unpredictable. The nebula's gases swirled around him, hiding him from prying eyes. Riley adjusted the ship's shields to reduce sensor detection and relied on instinct to navigate the turbulent space. The aliens, expecting a straightforward chase, would find themselves lost in the chaos. Hours passed in tense silence. Riley monitored every blip on the scanner, every shift in the nebula's currents. The lead alien ship had not pursued him yet. Perhaps it was regrouping, or perhaps it was underestimating him again. Humans had a way of surviving against the odds, but this time, Riley planned to take the advantage further. He was no longer just surviving. He was preparing to fight back strategically. As the nebula thickened, Riley smiled. The galaxy might see humans as weak, fragile, and expendable. But humans had something no alien could replicate: ingenuity, courage, and the ability to turn even the most desperate situations into opportunities. Riley Kane embodied that truth. The aliens would regret underestimating him. Riley Kane's heart pounded as he entered the swirling nebula, the thick clouds of ionized gas hiding him from the alien squadron. For hours, he had evaded them, using human intuition and cleverness to stay alive. The aliens were relentless, their arrogance intact, but Riley knew something they didn't. Humans could turn survival into strategy. They could use the environment, adapt to unexpected situations, and strike when the enemy least expected it. This was his moment. No longer would he simply survive, he would fight back. The nebula was dangerous, full of hidden electrical currents and pockets of unstable gas. Most alien pilots avoided it entirely, fearing the risk to their superior ships. But Riley had flown through worse. He guided the Starling carefully, feeling the hum of the engines and the vibrations of the ship as it twisted through turbulent currents. Each movement was deliberate. Each decision was calculated yet flexible. Humans had a gift for improvisation that machines and even the cleverest aliens could not match. The sensors beeped suddenly. The lead alien ship had entered the nebula. Riley's hands tightened on the controls, but he did not panic. He had anticipated this moment. The alien was confident, moving fast, expecting an easy kill. It had underestimated human cunning once, and now it would learn the full extent of it. Riley activated the Starling's cloaking system, a prototype device that flickered intermittently but could hide the ship briefly. The alien ship's sensors scanned the area, its systems blinking with uncertainty. Riley used the pause to his advantage, maneuvering into a narrow channel filled with floating debris. He had studied the nebula long before entering, mapping routes and potential traps. Humans could think ahead in ways aliens often ignored. The alien ship followed blindly, its speed a liability. Riley darted between rocks and floating wreckage, using the debris as cover. Sparks flew as the alien's weapons struck obstacles instead of him. He allowed a small grin to cross his face. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be easy to destroy, but he was proving otherwise. "Human, your tricks will fail," the alien commander hissed through the comms, its voice filled with frustration. "You cannot hide forever." Riley ignored the taunts. Words were useless, action was everything. He had prepared for this. The nebula's currents would not only hide him, they would amplify his advantage. By leading the alien ship through a series of unpredictable twists and turns, he could force it into positions where its size and speed became disadvantages. As he navigated a particularly narrow stretch, Riley triggered a series of small explosive charges he had planted earlier. They were old mining explosives, forgotten but functional. The blasts rocked the channel, sending debris spinning in all directions. The alien ship collided with floating wreckage, scraping violently and losing control. Riley boosted forward, escaping the immediate danger. The other alien ships, scattered and confused by the nebula's hazards, were slow to respond. Riley used the moment to analyze his next move. Humans were not just survivors, they were strategists. They could turn even weakness into strength. His small cargo ship, weak and unarmed compared to the alien vessels, could strike where they expected nothing. He plotted a course toward a large, hollowed asteroid nearby. Its interior was like a maze, filled with tunnels and sharp turns. Riley could use it as a trap. The lead alien ship, arrogant and overconfident, would follow blindly, assuming the human had no plan beyond evasion. But Riley knew that humans thrived on turning the enemy's assumptions against them. He entered the asteroid, careful but swift. The corridors were tight, forcing the alien ship to slow down. Sparks and dust filled the passages as Riley activated small environmental hazards. Old machinery that could collapse partially, falling rocks that could block paths, and energy conduits that sent blinding arcs across the tunnels. The alien ship struggled, its sensors overwhelmed by the chaos. Riley moved with precision, his instincts guiding him through the labyrinth. Humans could adapt in real time, making decisions that no alien program could anticipate. The lead alien ship fired blindly, its weapons striking walls instead of the starling. Sparks flew and alarms blared from the alien vessel. Riley smiled. They had mocked humans, called them weak, and now they were helpless in his trap. He darted into a central chamber of the asteroid, a wide space filled with floating rocks and broken machinery. From here, he could see the entrances, predicting exactly where the alien would come from. Riley activated a sequence of energy conduits, sending arcs of electricity across the chamber. The flashes disrupted the alien's sensors completely. The alien ship entered the chamber, its movements erratic. Riley waited, biding his time. Then, with a sudden boost of speed, he maneuvered the starling behind a massive floating boulder, unseen and ready to strike. The alien ship, blinded and confused, collided with smaller debris, losing stability. Riley seized the opportunity. Using the ship's thrusters and the asteroid's low gravity, he launched the starling upward, slingshotting toward the exit. The alien tried to follow but miscalculated the turn. Its hull scraped violently against the chamber walls, sending sparks into the void. Riley surged forward, leaving the lead alien ship struggling to regain control. Outside the asteroid, the nebula's currents provided cover for Riley's next move. He adjusted the starling's trajectory toward open space, but not before observing the damage inflicted on the alien squadron. 2 ships were heavily damaged, one was disabled, and the lead ship was struggling to recover. The human pilot had turned the chase into a battlefield where the environment itself became a weapon. Riley allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. The humans were supposed to be weak. Yet here he was, outsmarting a superior force, surviving where others would fail, and striking back with cleverness rather than brute force. That was the human advantage, the ability to adapt, to improvise, and to thrive under pressure. But Riley knew the battle was not over. The alien leader would not forgive this humiliation. It would regroup, analyze the failures, and come back stronger. Riley needed to prepare for the next encounter, turning the survival instinct into a full counterattack. Humans did not just react. They anticipated, they adapted, and they struck when the time was right. He plotted a course toward a nearby cluster of small moons, their gravitational fields and rocky surfaces providing a natural maze. If the aliens pursued, they would be forced to navigate carefully, slowing their speed and making mistakes. Riley could use every trick, every piece of knowledge to turn the terrain against them. As he approached the moons, Riley's sensors detected the remaining alien ships regrouping. Their movements were cautious, hesitant. They had learned, but perhaps not enough. Humans had a reputation for resilience, and Riley intended to make that reputation legendary. He entered the moon cluster, weaving through narrow passages and using gravitational pulls to slingshot between moons. The alien ships followed, slower and less precise. Riley calculated every move, using low-gravity corridors and narrow gaps to create obstacles. Rocks and debris became shields, hazards, and traps simultaneously. The lead alien ship, desperate to regain control, attempted a direct assault. Riley anticipated it. He waited for the exact moment, then boosted the Starling in a sharp upward arc. The alien collided with a floating boulder, losing control once again. Sparks and alarms erupted. Riley's heart raced, not from fear, but from exhilaration. Humans thrived on challenges, and this was exactly the kind of situation where their strength shone. With the aliens temporarily disabled, Riley could strike. He activated the Starling's small, hidden weapons, primitive compared to alien firepower but effective in close quarters. Targeting weak points in the alien ship's engines, he fired carefully. Explosions rocked the void as two of the alien vessels were disabled, floating helplessly among the moons. The lead ship, heavily damaged and furious, hovered at the edge of the cluster. Its sensors were erratic, systems failing. Riley approached cautiously, careful not to underestimate it. Humans were clever, but overconfidence could be fatal. He observed, calculated, and waited for the right moment. Finally, he saw an opening. Using the gravitational pull of a small moon, Riley slingshotted the Starling around it, gaining speed while remaining hidden. The lead alien ship moved directly into his path, unaware of the maneuver. With a sudden burst, Riley aimed precisely at the ship's vulnerable engine array. The blast struck true, sending the alien vessel spinning uncontrollably. Riley watched as the ship tumbled, sparks flying, systems failing. The leader's voice crackled over the comms, filled with anger and disbelief. "Human impossible, we underestimated you," Riley smiled. "Humans are never weak," he said softly. He guided the Starling away, leaving the lead alien ship stranded and unable to pursue. The nebula and moons had become his battlefield, and humans had triumphed without needing the advanced firepower the aliens relied on. As Riley exited the moon cluster, he allowed himself a deep breath. The remaining alien ships were disabled or retreating. The chase had turned into a decisive victory. Humans were not only survivors, they were warriors, thinkers, and masters of adaptability. The galaxy would remember this day. The aliens who had mocked humans, laughed at their supposed weakness, would regret underestimating them. And Riley Kane, a single human pilot in a small cargo ship, had proven what humans could achieve when intelligence, courage, and determination combined. He set a course back to open space, his mind already planning for the next challenge. The battle had been won, but the war for survival in the galaxy continued. Humans were underestimated everywhere, but Riley Kane intended to change that perception, one daring maneuver at a time. Somewhere in the void, the alien commander seethed, humiliated but alive. It had laughed at the weak human pilot once, and now it would remember the sting of underestimation forever. Riley Kane floated in the quiet of space, the nebula behind him still swirling with ionized clouds, casting strange, colored lights across the Starling's cockpit. He had survived the alien squadron, outsmarted their leader, and demonstrated that humans were far from weak. Yet Riley knew better than to relax. The galaxy was unpredictable, and being a human pilot meant constantly thinking ahead, predicting every possible threat, and being ready for anything. The Zorathian colony glimmered in the distance. Its domed habitats and metal corridors seemed peaceful, but Riley could feel the tension of those who waited for his return. Supplies in hand, he was bringing life to a small community that had depended on human courage, ingenuity, and determination to survive. The knowledge that the colony relied on him fueled his determination. Humans were considered fragile, expendable, weak, but Riley had the chance to prove them wrong once more. The alien squadron had been scattered, its ships damaged, and the lead commander temporarily disabled. But Riley knew the danger wasn't over. The aliens would regroup, strike again, and plan retaliation. Humans survived by thinking, anticipating, and striking with precision when the moment was right. Riley had learned that. The universe would learn it too. He guided the Starling through the outer asteroid belt that surrounded the colony, careful to avoid debris and unstable surfaces. The aliens were powerful, but humans had creativity, intuition, and courage on their side. Riley used the belt as natural cover, hiding from sensors and making his approach unpredictable. If the aliens attempted a counterattack, they would not find him where they expected. That was the advantage humans had, unpredictability. As he approached the colony, Riley's scanners detected the remaining alien vessels. One was damaged, spinning slowly, while the lead ship was barely functional, struggling to regain control after the maneuvers in the nebula and moon cluster. Riley realized he could end this threat completely, decisively, and demonstrate to the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. He activated the Starling's small auxiliary engines, pushing the ship to its limits while remaining within control. The damaged alien ship tried to follow, but Riley's strategy was flawless. Using gravitational pulls from nearby asteroids and quick, unpredictable maneuvers, he guided the alien toward a narrow canyon near the colony. It was a trap set using his understanding of physics, instinct, and human ingenuity. The alien commander realized the danger too late. The ship collided with rocks, sparking violently as Riley watched from a safe distance. The lead ship tumbled uncontrollably, systems failing one by one. Riley's smile was quiet but confident. Humans had survived by using their minds, not brute force. They had adapted, improvised, and turned weakness into strength. This was proof. He turned toward the colony, ensuring his path was safe. Humans were not only survivors, they were protectors. Every crate of supplies aboard the Starling represented lives, hope, and the resilience of a species often underestimated. Riley's heart swelled with pride. His mission had been far more than delivering cargo. It had been about demonstrating that humans could face impossible odds and prevail. The colony's inhabitants began to notice the ship approaching. Small lights blinked on domes and corridors, and a few scouts prepared to greet him. They had known he was skilled, but the full scope of his victory against the alien squadron would only become clear when Riley returned. They did not just need supplies. They needed reassurance that humans could survive the galaxy's dangers, and Riley was bringing both. Riley guided the Starling down onto a landing pad, the ship's engines humming steadily. The surface was rocky, uneven, but manageable. The colonists waited with a mix of anticipation and relief. As the landing gear touched down, cheers erupted from small groups outside. Humans were resilient, clever, and courageous, and Riley Kane had proven it once again. He exhaled, leaning back in the cockpit chair. The adrenaline from the chase still lingered, but there was satisfaction in knowing the mission was complete. Supplies were delivered, colonists were safe. The alien threat was neutralized for now. And the galaxy had witnessed a human's ingenuity triumphing over advanced alien technology. As the colonists approached, Riley began unloading the supplies. He worked alongside them, distributing food, water, and medical equipment. Every item he delivered felt like a small victory, a tangible proof of human resilience. The colonists looked at him with awe, realizing that a single human pilot had survived where others might have failed, had outsmarted a superior alien force, and brought hope to their small corner of the galaxy. Among the colonists was a young boy who stared at Riley wide-eyed. "Are humans really that strong?" he asked softly. Riley smiled, crouching down to meet his gaze. "Strength isn't always about size or speed," he said. "It's about thinking, courage, and never giving up. Humans can survive where others fail because we don't give up, we adapt. We fight smart and we fight for each other." The boy nodded, eyes shining with admiration. Riley stood, brushing the dust from his uniform. This was why humans thrived. They were underestimated, yes, but that gave them an edge. Their opponents expected weakness and found strength instead. In the distance, sensors detected the lead alien ship attempting to leave the nebula. It was damaged, systems barely functional, but it had survived. Riley knew the commander would be furious, humiliated, and plotting revenge. Yet the galaxy would remember this moment. A human had outsmarted a superior alien force, survived against impossible odds, and proven that human courage and intelligence were unmatched when combined. Riley walked to the edge of the landing pad, gazing at the stars. The nebula still glowed faintly behind him, a reminder of the dangers he had faced. But humans thrived under pressure. They were not the strongest in terms of raw power, but they had creativity, courage, and adaptability, the ultimate tools for survival. He activated the Starling's communication array, sending a message across human space. Supplies delivered, colony safe. Humans thrive. It was simple, direct, and true. Every human would hear it, every colony would hear it, and perhaps even the alien races would learn that underestimating humans was a grave mistake. Riley returned to the cockpit of the Starling for one final check. The ship was damaged, scratched from the battles, but still fully functional. It had survived against the odds just like its pilot. Riley knew that humans were capable of extraordinary things. They were resilient, resourceful, and courageous. Even in the darkest reaches of space, they could prevail. As the sun of a distant star reflected off the colony's domes, Riley felt a sense of accomplishment. The mission had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and proved that humans could outthink, outmaneuver, and survive opponents who considered them weak. The galaxy might have doubted humans before, but after today, that doubt would waver. Back in his quarters, Riley reviewed the data from the battles. The aliens had been thorough in their attacks, but every misstep had been exploited. Every assumption had been used against them. Humans were underestimated everywhere, but that made them unpredictable and dangerous. Riley smiled. One day, the galaxy would understand that humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, warriors, and strategists. Even as the colonists celebrated, Riley thought ahead. The aliens would not forget this humiliation. They would repair, regroup, and seek revenge. But Riley Kane was ready. Humans survived and they thrived because they never stopped thinking, adapting, and fighting for what mattered. Night fell over the colony, stars twinkling above like distant, watchful eyes. Riley walked among the colonists, sharing stories of survival, cautioning them about dangers, and encouraging them to trust in human ingenuity. Every word reinforced the lesson humans had demonstrated in the nebula and moon clusters. Strength was not always physical. It was courage, intelligence, and determination. The aliens had mocked him, called him weak, laughed at the human pilot. Now they would regret it. Riley Kane had turned a simple mission into a triumph, outsmarting a superior enemy and delivering hope to those who needed it most. Humans had won, not through raw power, but through adaptability, cleverness, and unwavering spirit. As he returned to the Starling, Riley knew the galaxy would remember this day. The story of a weak human pilot who survived and triumphed against impossible odds would spread across the stars. Humans were underestimated, yes, but that made them dangerous, unstoppable, and remarkable. Riley adjusted the ship's engines, preparing for the next journey. The nebula behind him, the colony safe, and the alien squadron defeated, he allowed himself a quiet moment of pride. Humans had survived again. Humans had thrived again. And one day, the galaxy would recognize what he already knew. Human courage, intelligence, and determination were forces to be reckoned with. Somewhere in the silent reaches of space, the lead alien commander seethed with fury, humbled and humiliated. It had laughed at the weak human pilot, and now it would remember that mistake forever. Riley Kane had proven that humans were clever, unpredictable, and powerful, not in ways others expected, but in ways that mattered most. And Riley, human, clever, and unstoppable, was ready for whatever came next. The stars stretched endlessly ahead. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but humans would thrive, survive, and triumph wherever they went. And that was a truth no alien could ignore.